Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Dietrich. I am the Vice Chair of the Brown County Housing Authority. Today representing the Housing Authority is myself and John Fenner. As we do not have a quorum present, we will be listening in on the meeting, but not taking any action today.
And my name is Sandy Pop. I am the Vice Chair of the Green Bay Housing Authority and would like to call our meeting to order at this time. And what time is it? At 10:40. I'd like to welcome everybody here, and we do have a quorum, so I guess what I'd first like to do is roll call. Natalie, would you like to start?
Sure, Nathalie Lund.
Terry Refsgard.
And Sandy Pop. Then I'll ask for an approval of the agenda, please, if everybody had a minute to look at that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All right, we have oh my gosh, we have a motion to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And this is where they should be marking.
On there.
No.
For the approval of agenda
No,
and minutes, we've been just doing voice vote.
Oh, I see.
But for the
Okay.
regular business items, then they would do their voting.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh, you're
so did everybody hear that? For agenda minutes, we'll do a voice vote, and then when we go into regular business, if we take any action, we will actually be recording it on our pads. Okay, the item C is approval of minutes. Could I get a motion to approve, please? And did you all have time to look at them? They are scaled down, Robin, so appreciate that for timeliness.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
And I'll second. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed? Okay, motion carried, minutes approved. We'll go into regular business, and the first under that is consideration with possible action on a request from TWG Development for financial support for a housing project, Broadway Loft, and we have a guest here with that. And would you like to state your name, please, for the
Sure.
record?
Jonathan Alke, Development Director for TWG Development.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being here, so I will turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you. First, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to present Broadway Lofts and request support. I appreciate your time and your attention. So with that, I'd like to give you an overview of what Broadway Lofts is. Some of you have heard this project, seen it before last year. And before I dive into the 2018 iteration, I'll give you a little background on the 2017, if you will. 2017, we put together basically the same development structure and presented it to REDA for an allocation of low-income housing tax credits using their 9% round, which is a competitive funding round. And it came very, 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 very close to getting funded, but just barely missed out on the funding. So we kind of were planning on moving on, and since it no longer had viability. But then what happened in March is the state of Wisconsin passed a state low-income housing tax credit on March 22nd. So they passed a tax credit that a lot of other states already carry. It basically matches the federal credit on a different version of the LIHTC program, which is called the 4% credit program, and it's not as competitive. However, it doesn't give you as much equity in the project. You have to carry a little more debt. So it's a way to figure out, but it's still affordable housing. And so with that, I'd like to kind of introduce you guys to 2018 iteration of Broadway Lofts. So I want to give you a little background on who TWG is. We are 11 years old. We were founded by Joe Whitsitt and his son, Tony Noble. And over the last 11 years, we've become a fully integrated real estate company. And what I mean by that is we have in-house construction group, an in-house management group, we have an in-house architect. So what that allows us to do is really own the process from concept all the way through ownership through 15-year period. So we've become a true partner in the project. And you would see TWG as owner of Broadway Lofts through 15 years after completion. So we being a neighbor of yours, so we definitely want to make sure that we're building the right thing to suit the needs of the city of Green Bay. Our resume is pretty robust. We already are up to 70 developments. We're in 10 states. We started in Indiana. We are over almost 900 million and 5,200 units of projects. I like to point out the not-for-profit partnerships. My role at TWG, I lead the Indiana and Wisconsin, this one, developments. And I'm fortunate and honored to do that because that's how we got our start. So we have a lot of partnerships and relationships out there. And we do a lot of community-based development. We've done 7 developments that house homeless or disabled people, and I'm currently putting together a project that will actually set aside 20% of our units for visually impaired, which you don't think, which I realize you never hear about visually impaired apartments, and there's really not much to it, so it's just thoughtful design.
Sure.
So with that, we're truly a community-based, and we have a lot of not-for-profit partners in our projects. So I like to use these two as examples of our scope. We go anywhere from Palladium Square, which was completed about a year and a half ago, 145 luxury apartments, about 32 million in total cost, all the way down to Morici Village, which was 21 units, very small, adaptive reuse of historic soldier barracks into just 21 apartments for disabled tenants. And what's cool about that project is when they moved in, 21 of these people, there were 2 who had full-time jobs. As of today, 19 have full-time jobs. So the opportunity to get stable housing really allowed them to increase quality of life. Our construction group is very heady as well. They were founded in 2009 and completed 64 projects, quite robust numbers as well. Our management group is really important to us because they make sure we're in compliance with the Housing Authority and the IRS with all of our ongoing leasing arrangements for 15 years. So let's dive into Broadway Lofts. The location is 400 North Broadway approximately. This is the 11-acre site that the city used to own. They sold it close to DDL Holdings, which is a partner on Titletown Brewing. So they have started development from the south end moving forward. So you see Titletown, the cannery, and all the office space along Broadway. And we initially started talking about this concept. We were talking exclusively with the city, but eventually, DDL became part of that. But what's great about DDL is they are very supportive of the project. They're doing everything they can to set us up for success, and they've been very cooperative every step of the way. So this is the 11 acres, all the way from Terry's building on the north end. There's the park,
Okay.
all the way down to here. Only is 11 acres. Our site will be just focused on the north end up there. And so when I look at developments in different cities, I always start with the city's plan, the comprehensive city plan. Make sure they're looking for housing. What are they looking for? What kind of housing they want and need? And in the plan, it was called the Larson Green site. Now it's called the Rail Yard. But they really called out this site as a catalytic development project for the city and envisioned a mixed use of commercial, retail, multifamily, and in the strategic goals were to provide a variety of housing options and increase downtown density. So this is something that this would be a check in every box, if you will, of what the city is looking for, and they've been very supportive of the project as well. So the slight shift from 2017 to 2018 is to kind of make sure that we're in compliance with what RETA is looking for and what kind of projects they fund. So when initially conceptualized, this was a 100% workforce development. That was what Kevin told me, there's a huge shortage of workforce housing in the city of Green Bay. So this is really returning to that original concept of workforce. And so we'll talk about what that means exactly. These are people who are priced out of downtown housing, but they need to stay by where they work, baristas, cleaning staff, even teachers. So this is an excellent location. Last night I was on the farmer's market out on Broadway, and I was just, wow, it doesn't really get any attention being on the other side of the river. I feel like Green Bay always focuses on what's cool going on the east side, and I just thought, wow, Broadway is just such a really cool street with a lot of cool things going on. I also saw the lights on the bridge last night. That was pretty neat as well. So what this does for us is this is a tough site. It's not a, it used to be cannery, there's some rail yard, there's some power lines going in there. So it's a challenging site, but we're able to go in there and use a LIHTC program to redevelop vacant land, a blighted parcel. Right now it's just storage for semi trucks, and create jobs. We'll have 2 to 4 full-time positions for management maintenance, and then the construction alone will be at least 120 temporary full-time positions. The residents, we always have our approval. Having an in-house management company gives us the opportunity to really focus on what we do well. Resident council, neighborhood watch, engaging the residents in other ways. It's important to us that we're not just warehouse people, but we offer services and events and coordination to enhance quality of life. So the biggest, to me, the most not shocking, but just a wow that when I was doing the research for this project was when we commissioned a market study and market studies, what they do is they look at need for the housing. They look at what the existing rental market looks like, how many people are out there that need apartments. And so what came back in our primary, PMA primary market area was there were 420 affordable apartments, and there was 1 vacancy. They were on the market rate stuff, there was just regular apartments, the Metro, for example. There were 3,300 units, and there were 42 vacancies. That's an occupancy rate of 99.2%. And a healthy market has about a 6% vacancy rate. That's just typical turnover, people moving, getting new jobs, things like that. So Green Bay is bursting at the seams, needing housing. I was just blown away by that number. I've never seen a market that strong, if you will. So a lot of people have asked me what the study looked at. This was the market area, really the downtown core out to the interstate and the river, basically. So what are we building? 107 apartments, a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. There's going to be 3 buildings, 1 4-story building that's right along Broadway, and that'll house 93 apartments, and that'll have all the 1s and 2s and a couple of 3-bedroom apartments. There will be 2 rows of townhomes, 2 buildings, 7 apartments, 7 townhomes each for 14 3-bedroom apartments. I was trying to think about what to focus on. I wanted to show you, because I know that last year, for example, we were doing 15% market rate, and that was to score well with WIDA. And this year, this is 100% affordable, and that's because we need the equity. We can't afford to do market rate, because then you can't get tax credits on market rate apartments, so you lose about $95,000 per apartment that you take out of the affordable program. So we can't really afford to do that. So there was a huge change. This is a lot of information, I'm sorry. So feel free to ask questions. There was a huge change in the tax legislation as far as affordable apartments goes. And the biggest one, I think, that we are looking at right now is called income averaging. So what used to be an affordable development meant that every single apartment had to be no more than 60% area median income or lower. And the new law has something called income averaging in there. And what that basically means is you can rent all the way up to 80% AMI, which is basically market rate, or down to 40, as long as your average is 60% AMI. And what that does is it allows us to cast a much wider net as far as who we're serving with the development in a good way. It's hard to find a whole bunch of people that are already at 60% AMI, right, for one. But it also allows us to serve true workforce. A lot of people are at 80 AMI, but can't quite find or afford a place to live. So we'll talk about what those numbers mean as well. But I wanted to show you from just a snapshot and on a high end, the number of units we're going to build at 60% are going to be 55. The number of 50, 26, the number of 70, 26. And again, that's averaging out to 60. That can change. We're doing it on a project in Indianapolis, a workforce housing project. As we're finding, lease up is trending in this direction. We shifted some up towards 80 and had a few towards 40 to offset. So this is just today. As we get out there and lease up, we can shift as long as we hit that 60% average. But it's important to me that you understand what this means, who are we serving with the workforce housing. So when you look at 50% AMI, a one-bedroom apartment would max out at, your income would be $34,900 a year. On the high end, if you're renting a townhome and it's full, you would be able to make $67,270 a year. So this really hits that workforce. That's a max. This hits that workforce. A lot of people I know make less than $67,000 a year. So I did a little to break that down a little more. What does that mean per hour? If you're in the middle, if you're making $50,000 a year, you're at $24.12 an hour. On the low end, $16 an hour. So these are, so I was like, who are these people? So I did a little research this morning, what jobs are available in Green Bay, and just wanted to throw a couple out there. Well, the first one that came to mind is my brother lives in Appleton, and he cleans at the YMCA, he makes $10 an hour. So he would easily qualify for this. Family Dollars hiring a store manager. You would around $40,000 a year. Olive Garden, they're hiring greeters, $19,000 per year on average. The city of Green Bay is hiring special education teachers around $42,000 a year. Compliance inspectors, if you're working at the city, $19 an hour. Green Bay Packaging is hiring general workers between $19,000 and $39,000 a year. So this is truly hitting a huge workforce housing component in the city. And as we saw earlier, there's nowhere for them to live. So why am I here? It's hard to make these pencil out. It's really, really hard. Construction costs are going up every year pretty dramatically. And RETA has caps on how you can ask and how you can structure the numbers. So there's a lot of constraints financially. So what brings me here today is very similar to what Bob, TWG here last year. It's the same capital stack for the most part, a lot more debt on this project, meaning a little more risk for TWG as far as paying that yearly debt payment. All I'm going to be asking the city of Green Bay for home funds, the housing authority for a loan at 1.5%, which is exactly what we asked for last time, and then the Brown County Housing Authority for a grant, and those are all highlighted in red there. And so without those, things start to fall apart pretty quickly for the financing on the project. There's a max on how much we will allow TWG to to defer development fee. There's a max that allows us to take on as far as debt. So we're really doing everything we can to make the numbers work. And one thing that attests to that is that we're gonna ask that the loan for 530 be, instead of directly to Broadway Lofts and settle the deal with a payment every year, we're gonna ask that it be funneled through TWG, and TWG is on the hook for that debt payment, so we can increase the amount of debt on Broadway Lofts and take on more risk as a developer. We just wanna make this work. So, with that said, there's some site plans for you to look at. As I mentioned, we have one 4-story building. This is overlaid. This is Broadway over here. There's a park with the vegetable garden and whatnot right here, your 4-story apartment building. Right here is Bond Street, and then we'll have 2 buildings of townhomes. Over here, here's the power lines going right there, and storage and garages here as well. And then building A plan, there'll be a community room, a fitness room, in, storage lockers for every unit. This is our concept. The mayor told me he preferred to be a little more, not so conservative, I guess, more industrial, which we've done a few that look like that. And I showed him pictures, he loved it. I don't have Wi-Fi, I can't pull them up for you, but, so it probably will look a little more industrial, a little more modern than this. Their feedback was that it was a little residential, a little conservative, so. And these are the townhomes here. So with that said, let's go over the schedule real quick. A best case scenario is we're applying next week Friday. So I'm definitely gonna ask for a motion for action today. The RETA will approve the funding or not approve it in August, and then we would close on financing in December and starting construction in the spring, about a 14, 15-month construction period, and then start leasing up. So you'd see a building July 2020. So with that, do you guys have any questions? It's a lot of information, I'm sorry. I like for everybody to understand exactly what you're doing, why your partnership is important, and why the development is important. So go ahead.
So when you were talking about the 50% AMI and the 60%, and then you were giving income possibilities in the Green Bay area, they were very low. So do you adjust that according to area, or were the income guidelines up there federal, or what were they?
They're HUD guidelines.
So they're the HUD guidelines. So, because it would look like you would have a lot more people at the 50%.
Right. Right.
And so I guess I'm wondering,
Well, if
You know-
we could fill a 60% unit with somebody who makes 50% income.
that's what I was wondering.
But TWG, we have our own internal guidelines. We don't want to, we look at their income and they say, well, we'll take there's no 50% units left, we'll take a 60 or 70. And we'll look at your income, we'll look at the rent that we need, and we'll say, it needs to meet our guidelines because we don't want to stress them financially.
Correct.
Plus, we want to be able to collect the rent and make sure they can pay it. So, tends to be we stay within guidelines that are mandated by HUD.
Okay, so I guess what then I'm saying is that are you looking at adjusting those numbers a little bit to put more in the 26 under 50% than under the 70% and the 60%?
If we take them out of the 60s, one of each would go to the 50 and 70, or even 40 and 80.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's got
So
to
whatever
average
the-
60%.
It's gotta average 60?
The average
Oh.
has got to be 60%, I
Okay.
think, for the project.
okay. That I didn't know, okay. Then my other question is accessibility,
Mhm.
and not just for individuals with sensory disabilities, but are we doing barrier-free showers in any of these? How many units? Could we propose doing over and above what normally, because one of the things we're lacking in Green Bay is barrier-free showers in apartments. 1 and 2 bedrooms, huge, and sometimes in 3. So can we make things more universal or visitable so that we incorporate those right from the beginning, all of those features, so that we're not looking at any steps, we're looking at level entries, at least for visiting, maybe looking at more than just what HUD says you need to have for accessibility, for
Right.
apartments to have more. Many people don't mind not having a bathtub. Maybe the 3 bedrooms might be difficult if they have children. They
Yeah.
would probably prefer that, but kind of getting a greater number of those types of apartments, and not saying that everybody has to have undercut sinks and things like that. Truly, the biggest barriers for individuals with disabilities are those barrier-free showers.
Okay,
Getting into that bathroom and getting their personal care taken care of.
okay. We're doing 20% of the apartments are visitable, meaning they're 100% wheelchair accessible. So I can, if you would like me to go higher, especially with the showers, we're absolutely willing to do that. We do the roll-in showers on quite a few of our apartments
Yeah.
already. So we can just make that number higher if that's, we can say 30%, 40%, whatever you think.
I don't know, what are you thinking?
So 30% would be what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We work with people with disabilities in 17 counties at Options. Every county is at a lack, other than the elderly and disabled units, which fill up and people stay in those practically lifetime because they have that barrier-free shower.
Sure.
So the wait list just for those specific, and I know we don't have a real long one. So people just end up going to apartments, falling off wait lists, going to apartments that they can't really do their personal cares
Sure.
independently. So we always have so many people, I just wished I could take a shower.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I didn't have to bed bathe,
Yeah.
because they either can't get into their bathroom, can't utilize, maybe they can get in by the sink area, but they can't get to the tub shower
Yeah.
unit, so.
So what if we made 40% of the bathrooms roll-in showers? That would be about 44 apartments. we
Yeah,
have.
and it doesn't say that you have to rent them all to individuals with disabilities, but just that they're
Yeah,
available.
so that they're,
Yeah, just to get a greater stock. And the thought of having it all in one big complex bothers me,
yeah,
but because you're starting new, it's just like if we can get that involved and get that set up there, maybe some other developers will look at that and go, oh my gosh, you know, I never thought of doing more. And they're all rented, so, you know, they're easy for so many people.
yeah.
They're easier for so many people.
Yeah, we found that people don't mind them at all. It's not a
Yeah.
barrier to leasing to somebody who doesn't need a roll-in shower.
Correct, yeah. Yeah,
So I'm making notes here. So 40% of showers we roll in.
yeah, if that's possible, you
Yeah,
know.
it's possible. We can do
Yeah.
that. Okay. Yeah.
I guess I'd like to take it a step further, what Sandy was talking about, universal design. Other things that would be very helpful are things like lever handles on doors, lever handles on plumbing fixtures, those types of things, whether you have a disability that's obvious or not. Maybe it's just arthritis.
Mhm.
Using a lever handle on a door, on a sink, etc., is going to make that so much easier to use. So incorporating those types of features.
Sure. Well, I'd have to double check, but I think we're already planning on 100% lever handles.
Okay.
And I can just make sure
On
the
fixtures
sinks
also,
are
on all
also-
fixtures and hardware?
Yeah,
Good.
so we'll do that.
And then what about backing in the showers? Are you already reinforcing walls around the toilets
Right,
and
for
around the
grab
showers
bars,
for
yeah.
grab bars?
Yeah.
So, okay. What else?
Those are the main things.
Just the light
Door widths.
switches, yeah.
And what are you planning for door widths? Do you have any idea?
Door widths
Door width?
inside the apartment or getting in? What are your door widths? Normally 36?
32 inch?
It's been a long time since I
Yeah.
dove in that deep, but I can make sure they're all 36
It'd be perfect.
Yeah, because that would give you a 34-inch
I know.
opening, yeah.
I know 20% will be at least 36. I'll find out and get back to you on that one.
Yeah, but if all of them could be at a minimum the 32, that's
Okay.
the,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
because
Yeah,
it makes,
I
it
can
makes
tell
that
you that-
visiting a little bit easier.
Right.
If someone wants to go and visit a neighbor, they can get through that door, so.
The other thing that you're seeing more of is people who are bariatric, that are heavier. And I think you're gonna encounter the same thing when you're looking at, in these apartments, you're gonna have a significant number of people who are heavier and are going to, as a result, require wider access to, whether it's doorways, et cetera.
Okay. So all doors will be at a minimum 32 inches.
And that's good,
Yeah, and then I'll get back to you on what percentage will be 36.
okay. And then even the receptacles, for like plugins, if they can go up a little higher, I mean, because
Sure.
those are advantageous to everybody too versus way
Yeah.
down on the,
Like 15 inches or
yeah,
something.
yeah. And then laundry. Are you having laundry in some of the apartments in the townhomes, or is there gonna be a laundry room in the larger apartment complex?
Yeah, we were debating that right now. 100% of the apartments will have the plumbing for washer dryer. Where we're looking at whether we can afford to put each unit
Sure.
have its own washer dryer.
Sure,
If we don't put it in each apartment, we'll have at least a washer dryer in the building,
okay.
so you can go and do your laundry.
So you'll have a
on the
coin
first floor.
operated, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if coin-operated ones, if you can do front-loading with those. Yeah, and that I'm not sure.
A lot of
Yes.
times,
There are?
Or wait, coin operated.
I know they have them in laundromats, they're
Yes,
front-loading.
they do.
Yeah.
We have
But-
them at Mason Manor.
Correct. Oh, you do?
Dryer.
Good. Okay.
And washer.
Coin
We
operated?
have one big
So you
washer
have,
and
but they're
one
not
dryer.
coin operated.
Are they coin-operated?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
So front-loading, washer and dryer, if that's possible, for your coin-operated?
yeah, we found that a lot of our apartments, people actually end up leasing washer dryers.
Oh,
It's very common,
that's
it's very
fine, yeah.
affordable, yeah.
Yeah.
So we do that a lot because it's kind of a win-win for everybody. It's less pressure on our maintenance guy because you can just call
Sure.
it, yeah.
Yep. Just a heads up if you do end up putting a laundry in.
Okay.
When you talked about the original project, it seems like from the perspective of, say, our homeless population,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this is no longer affordable. As a graduation from people entering the workforce at a low wage.
Yeah,
So it is no longer targeted for the working poor.
right, so in the original concept, we have, some units have 30% AMI, which I love, but what the challenge is with this funding is you have to take on a lot more debt. So it really doesn't allow us to set aside a certain amount of units at the very low. We're always accepting vouchers though, if that works. So if a tenant has a voucher, obviously be able to rent there.
Okay.
If you want to, if you want to say, okay, well, we would like for you to make at least a certain amount, 30% AMI or 40% AMI, you're all-
I think there, if you're talking lower income, affordable housing,
Yeah,
you have to start with the working poor,
Yeah.
work your way up.
sure,
In our community, we all know that's where the lack of housing falls, the
Mhm.
one-bedroom, safe, affordable. Yeah, that would be great if there was some, because we've got our transitional program that, it would be a natural progression to go
Yeah.
from their emergency shelter, from their apartment for 2
Yeah.
years, and then into the real world renting.
right.
I have a question.
but they're working at the stadium, you know, flipping burgers or whatever,
Sure.
you know, they're, so,
So which doesn't cover that 34.9 a year, it would be more like about 20,
probably,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
Are utilities included with the rent?
These rents count they do not count the utilities.
So the tenant would be responsible for heat, electric, and
Right.
water?
That's correct. Well, we'll pay water and
And
sewer,
sewer.
yeah.
In your original plan, you had asked Brown County Housing for project-based vouchers.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be asking for those again, or does that not work with the new model?
It doesn't work with the new model. We could.
But you'll
if we
take the
wanted to.
Section 8
Yes, we'll
voucher.
take 'em.
They won't fit in the voucher payment standard.
Well, so is your thought, Terry, that you would like to see some of it starting at 30%?
Yes, yes,
Um,
I would. I mean, I love the voucher idea, the project voucher, and that has all fallen out of it, so
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be a neighbor, so it'll
Yeah.
be,
So are you saying that the voucher wouldn't be acceptable, but, I mean,
yeah, oh, yeah.
instead of going to 30, or would you still like to see at 30? You see, do you
Yeah, I'd
understand?
like to
Yeah.
see both, Sandy.
Yeah, oh, that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And how do you do that? I mean, how much would that increase your debt?
So how this works is we're underwriting to WIDA's guidelines.
Okay,
So we can only say, so if we're saying, okay, so these are maximums.
okay,
Okay, and so if I say I can only charge that much, but I'm also gonna commit to charging this little for so many apartments. If I make that commitment, there's a loss of revenue to
Sure.
the building, meaning I can't take on the debt to finance the building. So everything starts shrinking, and as it is, we're scratching and clawing for every dollar. One thing I will say, as I mentioned earlier, this isn't a final allocation of AMIs. And so if we see folks coming in and they say we're at 30% AMI or 40% AMI, we'll absolutely want to serve them. And that'll also give us the opportunity to say rent one of the 8 townhomes at 80% AMI. Maybe we can charge higher rents than that after we're built, because then at that point, WIDA is no longer looking, it's just HUD. that
okay.
has to stay on.
So you have some flexibility once the buildings go up then?
Yes.
May work? I mean,
That's what I'm thinking, is I can't commit to that in my model today, but when I'm up and running, I can absolutely make it work.
so would that be satisfactory?
I mean, if
Because that
if
is
you
going to be a
can, if you
neighbor.
can make that statement when you're up and running, why can't you make it now?
Because if I commit to it and WIDA sees that, they're gonna say, well, you can't take on
Any more
this
debt.
much debt, you can only take on this much debt, and then suddenly then they say your project's not feasible. And then that's what happened last time. They really get into those numbers from an underwriting standpoint, and they try to ding you every time anything they see that doesn't pass their standards of underwriting, so. But TWG is a huge company, so we're able to stand behind. We want to underwrite something a little more aggressively. We know we're good for it, if you will, because we have enough diversity. This isn't our first project, so we have enough diversity that it's okay if we're not cash flowing the first couple of years or something like that. But if you want, I can put some on a letterhead from TWG that says, once we're constructed, we'll commit to a certain number of
That would be
30%.
awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
that would-
let's do that. Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
And then this is on a bus route, correct?
I believe so. And Terry's on the bus route.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right
Right there, because they go down by you, but then they come up Broadway, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought, okay. Well, is there any more questions?
Is it possible to get, oh, sorry,
No, I'm asking.
is it possible to get a copy? Can you email that? Because there's information within what
Yeah.
you're talking today that we don't have.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send the PowerPoint. I sent
She
it to
can have
Robin
this.
already.
But his PowerPoint is
Oh, his
Yeah,
PowerPoint.
oh,
yes,
I was gonna
say, 'cause that's the-
yes.
that's
Yeah,
the-
she has that.
Oh,
Steph.
okay.
Yeah, the numbers
Thank you,
that
Steph.
you're showing there are in there.
Yeah,
I already sent it to Robin this morning. If you want to circulate it, yeah.
Okay.
thank you.
One issue excuse me, I would like to bring to the attention of the GVHA is in your packet, I included a summary of the GVHA's unrestricted funds.
That's what I was gonna ask.
So
Yep.
one thing that is different for us as a housing authority since the last time that we, offered to make the loan to TWG is that we have taken a look at our restricted funds as staff and determined what all of our needs were. And we broke it down into what some of our immediate needs are, as well as some of our longer-term future needs. And I'm certainly, open to the thoughts of the commissioners, but as staff, we determined that we would have maybe about $350,000 to make available for a loan while still meeting all of our needs. Now, some of our long-term needs, like the roof, is 10 years out. We need some immediate repairs to the roof that we do have the funding for. But then in 10 years, when we're anticipated to have to replace the roof, we're looking at needing, about $150,000 to take from our reserves, approximately. And that's just one example. There's other items that, as staff, we've identified that would have to come from our reserves. So it's really up to you as the commissioners if I personally love this project. I want to see it happen, but we also need to be attentive to our own needs as well. So as the commissioners, you need to decide, what level of risk you want to take with tying up some of our money in the loan and potentially not having enough for our own needs.
Right.
Do you have a question to that then? How long of a loan were you looking for? Was it going to be 20 years or 30 years? Because that would play a difference. in that.
35 is what it
Yeah,
was last
year. So it lines up with the rest of the loans out there.
So you said
35.
Yeah. I think it was around 19,000 a year coming back. I don't remember.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I had the number, I wish I had walked by.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
As far as what we're already paying every year, I believe it was around 19,000, but I can't recall.
But
So
then
it's so
the
it's structured as
interest-
a loan, so CFG's paying back 19,000 a year.
Okay.
She's a housing authority.
So in this document that I included in your packet,
Mhm.
I indicated we would have about $350,000 to make available. However, I looked at the numbers again, and best case scenario, because we're applying for various grants. We're applying for grants to redo the community room. We're applying for grant for service coordinator. There were a couple other things. Best case scenario, if all those things worked in our favor, I saw that maybe we could do another $150,000 without, being able to put our own needs on the back burner. So maybe,
Be close to $500,000 is what you're saying.
right. But again, if, as the commissioners, if you feel that, we can take the risk because some of these needs are further out, I would love to see this project happen.
And you're saying we'll get about 19,000 back a year.
So by the time the roof would come due, we'd have another 200,000 back.
That's what I was just gonna ask, yes.
And you said that this was TWG was taking on the, so
Yeah.
there's less risk then of non-payment of the debt
Yes.
and it not being a feasible debt. So
Right.
with it not being tied to the project, it is a little bit safer because the company itself would have to fold for us to not get our money back on
Right.
the loan.
Okay.
I see what you're talking, where your thinking is here, and that's good. And, I mean, how old is the building now?
43?
43, and I know mine is 15, and we're already, rooftop units, this, that, and this, what you have listed seems to not even include flooring replacement or stuff like that throughout the years, so there's gonna be,
Right.
because of the age of the building.
And we were really not taking into consideration some of those
Low
common
maintenance,
maintenance things
yeah.
because we do have capital improvement funds that we
Okay.
get from HUD that generally would cover those. So these are
Okay.
things that are kind of above and beyond what we normally have in our capital funds.
Okay.
Got it.
Thanks for doing a good job with that.
Mhm.
This is really good information, because I would have said, oh, sure, that sounds like a good amount of money, let's, give it to them without even thinking that that would be stuff that would be taken away from our boilers, our elevator projects, and things like that, so I appreciate you bringing that up. Because I too would like this project, it would be great.
I mean, the Housing Authority really doesn't have a lot of opportunities to put this many affordable housing units
Correct,
on the market.
I know,
You know, and I understand the needs for the building.
Correct.
I think we do have some other opportunities in the future for applying for grants and those types of things. I mean, I would really hope that you would support this project.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Oh, definitely.
We're tight,
Yes.
we're tight, but, I mean, this is a lot of units that
Mhm.
would really benefit, I think, the city
No,
of Green Bay
definitely.
for affordable
yeah,
housing.
I agree. How much did you have in your budget from us?
530.
Okay, so if you didn't get 530, if you only got 450 or 500,000, is it still workable or is it not?
Yeah, I'm getting a question from every source of funds. So it's starting to get pretty tight. I'm meeting with Kevin after to talk about that a little more. We would really greatly appreciate the full amount. I've been using that number from day one, so it would be a big hit if we weren't able to get the full amount.
So, it doesn't look like we have the full amount. If we look at we only have 450, 500,000, correct?
Well, we have it available now because we haven't done these projects
Correct,
yet.
correct.
And some of these projects, like the roof, we don't really need to do it for another 10 years.
Okay, okay,
So we do have the money now.
All right.
It's just that, what if the roof doesn't last the full 10 years?
right.
And we need to replace it in 5.
Well, and with the numbers that we put together as staff, we did leave a little bit of a reserve for in case of emergency. So there is a little bit still left in there, so, we're not tapping that unrestricted amount dry even with what we're doing, because we did want to leave that little bit amount in there.
Sure.
So,
Well, what is the consensus of the committee, or can I get a motion or more discussion? Bill's not here and neither is Steve, so it's kind of.
I wish I would have had the information that you presented today to be able to think about that and,
Sure.
weave through that, so I feel like
Um,
I agree that
When-
to kind of, my impression was the committee would be worried there was too much affordable housing in one, so I wanted to show you the breadth of that net. We're absolutely going to be able to serve lower income, but I also wanted to show you
Oh, yeah, that's
how
fine.
wide that workforce income is.
Yeah,
So that was what I focused on, and I can easily show you the numbers on the low end of the spectrum as well. But I didn't put those in there today.
Okay.
Natalie, do you have any thoughts?
Do you want me to excuse myself so you guys can feel like you can talk more candidly? I mean, I'm happy to do
No,
that.
we're fine,
Okay.
but thank you,
All right.
thank you.
I'll make the motion to support the project or what, with the, how much?
530,000. I know,
$530,000.
Loan at 1.5%.
loan, it's a loan.
A loan, a loan for the
Do you have
project.
questions? I can't tell you.
Natalie, do you have questions?
No, I don't, not really,
Okay,
so.
if you don't, then I'll second. Any other discussion? All right. There's a motion on the floor to support this project with $530,000 loan at 1.5% interest. All in favor?
You have to vote on
Us. Oh, look at that, it came up.
Yeah.
Technology's so cool.
Oh,
Thanks, Lisa.
yes.
I'm so used to doing the voice.
Nothing happens.
Let's see.
You have to push save and that takes a little bit.
Oh,
Did you press yes or no?
yeah,
Or-
yes, and
Okay.
Yeah, I did too,
Oh, I
but
think it's your nail.
it's taking.
It's not highlighting. There we go.
oh,
And that's what you want?
yeah.
Okay.
You gonna save it?
I think it's your fingernail. You want me to try?
Oh.
I got the special touch.
That's
now.
why I have this.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. I'm super grateful.
Well, I think it'll be a fabulous project.
I think so too. We're working so hard on this one. We're trying to find every way we can to make it work. It's gonna be a great project for the city. So wish us luck because it is a semi-competitive round this time. We only have so many state credits they can give out. So we'll know more this year. I'm gonna let you know.
So you'll know more in August, correct?
August will be the final answer.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
taking your time.
All right, thanks,
Does the
Sarah.
BCHA have to call another special meeting for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
And that's-
Before I leave, so what's the approach for am I allowed to bring it up in the Green Bay, the Brown County Housing Authority, 'cause we don't have a quorum?
Correct.
Correct.
Do I need to come back and do a conference call? Is that possible or something like that? What do you guys think? You just help me, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, I'll leave it up to you guys, but technology-wise, it would be completely possible if, that we could project this PowerPoint just like we are now, and then we
Mhm.
could do a conference call. But I'm open to your opinions as to what the rest of the commissioners, how open they would be to that.
Well, I don't want to speak for the other ones that aren't here, so I would still appreciate if you could be here in person. That would work for you, because otherwise, we're speaking for people that aren't even
Yeah.
sure that are going to be here.
I guess I'm thinking that definitely we'd want to see the PowerPoint. And in my mind, if you were available on a conference call, on a speakerphone, I would think that that would be sufficient to be able to have a dialogue and answer questions. But again, that's just my opinion.
The time that I save in travel will be used working on the application for this project.
It's very much the same project.
It
It's
is.
a little differentiation with regards to that percentage of median income, right, the breakup of that, so I think the BCHA commissioners have seen this already,
Yes.
right?
Yes, in regards to the project basis.
According, yes, everyone's done it,
Mhm.
so.
Yep. So I hear your preference, John, that, you would prefer he come, but I guess my opinion is similar to Tom's, that I think the rest of the commissioners would be open to doing a phone conference, considering Jonathan's availability and the extra, time. He does come from Indianapolis.
I love coming here. Just one thing.
Not so often, though.
Yeah. So,
I'm
Just,
from
can I make ask a question?
Yes.
As an
Skype.
alternative, could he Skype into the,
I could talk to our IT department to see if we
you know,
have
that way we've got a
ability.
picture,
Mhm.
a face,
Mhm.
talking back and forth. I think that would help.
Okay, Jonathan, do you have that?
As an
feasibility?
alternative.
Yeah, I've got Skype abilities, so you just let me know.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
talk to our IT department and see if we can make that happen.
Okay.
Jonathan, John, how do you feel about that?
You can call me Jonathan too.
Yeah.
Formal.
I guess if that's what we should do, we should do. But I don't want to speak for the other commissioners yet. I do foresee maybe it would be better face-to-face in some cases, in some aspects, as opposed to dealing with different parameters, because I'm afraid that we might have some objections. Therefore, if you were here to, physically
Sure.
here to
Yeah.
state
Yeah.
your case,
Well, you
it's
just
always
let me
more,
know.
it's
Yeah.
always better for your case if you
Yeah.
were here.
Yeah.
But if you think this will work, then I'll go along with it.
Well, I will open up my calendar, and you can discuss some more maybe and let me know. And I'll be happy to come up here and just fly up here and appear for the meeting. I appreciate that.
We can talk with the
That
coordinator.
it might be in your best
Right.
interest.
Yeah, it's harder to say no when the person's saying no. That's why I am like, so.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
hang up. You know,
Yeah.
that's a little bit
Yeah, just
easier than,
close the
yes,
down
yes,
there,
close
right?
the thing down, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank
we'll
you.
talk
Okay,
and
just
we'll
let me
let
know.
you know.
Thanks,
Okay.
Jonathan.
thank you all.
I think, I guess that we will informally end our portion for the Trumbull County Housing Authority of participation in this meeting.
Do you want to take a motion to adjourn, or?
No action.
Take an action.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Can't take action.
Can't do it.
Take care.
No,
All right.
Take care, thank you.
Have a safe trip.
Thanks.
so you're thinking 2:30?
Thank you all, appreciate it.
That's what I'm thinking. I'll need to
What time?
think in my own calendars are open, but if we stick with the normal meeting time of 3:30, hopefully that will work for everyone. So,
On a Monday?
are you available?
I will be.
Very much appreciated.
Okay.
All right, so you two are welcome to stay if you are interested in sticking around to hear what the GBHA talks
Are you
about.
kidding?
Otherwise, you can.
I'd have to tear myself away from this, but I'll have to. I have other things I might have
All
to.
right.
Anything, maybe.
I'm gonna
Both for
clean
taking
my
the
office.
time to come.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us and being such gracious hosts.
Well, thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
Well, thank you. And we will say.
Okay, Sandy, we can continue on then.
All right, the next agenda item is consideration with possible action on approval of resolution number 18-05, approval of operating budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st.
All right, and that should have been in your packet. And what this is just the formal portion that HUD needs, saying that yes, you have seen the budget and you have approved the budget, and this is a resolution stating that.
And I'm trying to get to the budget again. So the only thing that I'm finding a little, this is neat, but the only thing is going back and forth between the agenda and the packet items is a little time consuming. So when I just go to the regular agenda, it would be really nice if when I pressed on that number 2, that instead of attachment, no speakers, whatever I'm getting, that the actual thing would be there. Is that it right there?
Well, and the budget was not included in this packet.
Oh, it wasn't?
Because there were no
Because it's already
changes, you already
approved.
approved it.
Oh, then, yeah.
You approved it
I
last.
think normally we would do this resolution at the same time as the budget approval.
Okay, oh, you're right, so here it is.
We could do it at the same time, yes.
Okay.
It's just that I didn't know if there was gonna be a lot of changes, so I didn't bring it at the
Okay.
last meeting.
Gotcha.
But it does have to be approved.
Okay, then I would call for a motion to approve the 2018 budget resolution 18-05.
I will make that motion.
I will second it.
All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Vote.
Oh, well, it didn't come up, normally it comes up.
You might have to go back.
What did you say,
Usually it
Lisa?
pops up.
Yeah, it usually pops up.
Yeah,
There we
nothing
go.
popped up.
Oh, there it
There we
came
go.
finally.
So now you'll push yes.
Okay. Okay, it is how I want it,
It does
so.
not like you.
All right.
It doesn't like me.
Do you want to use this?
It really does not like you.
See?
Maybe we can talk to Mike about.
It's her
getting
finger.
Stylus.
Like, she's,
It doesn't.
Oh,
It
Jamie's-
doesn't like that either.
Oh, it
my finger
doesn't.
works fine on hers,
Yeah.
but her finger in the
Doesn't like
stylus
either
does not
one.
work.
So it passed unanimously.
Thank you. All right, under regular business for number 3, consider with possible action on acceptance of GBHA bills. And there is the attachments on here. Now that I figured out how to do it, this works out great.
You want to see them here?
There is nothing
Anything, I was just gonna say,
real
anything that's jumping out?
spectacular. Yeah,
Clean
nothing.
water, travel,
Yep, I mean,
yeah,
just normal stuff, you know,
fire,
drapes,
yeah.
all that stuff, you know.
So nothing that you would point out to us to be,
No, we had a couple of security deposits go back to people, which is always nice. They cleaned up correctly. So,
right?
I bet that doesn't happen too often.
it's getting
All
better.
right, well, that's good.
A little bit.
All right,
So I asked if there could be a motion to accept for those.
I'll make the motion to accept the bills.
I will second. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the bills? Natalie, or do you need a little bit more time?
No.
Okay, then all in favor, touch.
There
the
you go.
screen.
No, it doesn't like see.
I had to do that for a while. There we go.
Passed unanimously.
All right, great. All right, number 4, consideration with possible action on acceptance of GBHA financial report.
And that was also in your packet.
Mhm.
Nothing too spectacular. We are getting close to the end of our year.
I was gonna say, we got smiley faces.
Still smiley faces. We are, the year wraps up the end of June here. So then that will start my process of year-end closure of all that stuff, so.
Anything you need to point out to us?
Nope, I think we're pretty good.
It's kind of slow downloading, so I'm not able to see everything as quickly as I would like. I think I'm gonna have to bring the paper copy.
And I said I print mine off because. If you ask questions, you have to hand it back to me.
So are we over budget under scattered sites?
Let's see, I'll line it up here.
Or just I'm seeing a negative?
Yep, because with the, that is, I believe, it's over here, depreciation,
Okay.
it throws us over. And
Okay.
that normally happens, it's
Okay.
a non-cash item, but I
know.
have to.
I have the same thing, yeah.
Okay.
Don't you love accounting?
All right, then, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the GBHA financial report. All in favor on your pads?
All in favor, turn green.
Yes. All right, now we're down to E, informational.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
It's not. It doesn't work.
There we go.
Passed unanimously.
Great, thank you. All right, informational, contingency plan for Mason Manor boilers. Gee, we were just talking about those.
So at the May meeting, this question was posed, and we did talk to our maintenance staff, David, and he educated us about boiler kits that are available. These are systems that can be ordered on very short notice. They would come very quickly within a matter of hours
Oh.
and be set up to provide heat to the building. He has had experience with that in a previous position.
Awesome.
So it would be an expense, but, it would sustain our building if the boilers were to go off.
Wonderful. That's good to know. That's very good to know. Any other discussion on this? Okay, then number 2, discussion regarding GBHA contract with the ADRC for the nutrition program at Mason Manor.
So those of you who have been on our board for some years may remember that we talked about this in the past, I believe in 2014 and again in early 2015. The ADRC is requesting that we consider, not immediately, but just that we bring this, as a discussion item occasionally, to consider in the future contributing toward the cost of the meals. So they are, there's a subsidy that the ADRC receives federally, and then residents are asked to make a donation, but that donation is completely up to them. And the ADRC is basically asking all the different host sites if they would consider making a contribution. So the amount of the contribution, we could set it up in a variety of ways, and I included in your packet a couple of different options. One option is that the GBHA makes no payment, which is what we're currently doing. A second option is a partial payment. So that's what at least one other host site does, is they set a not to exceed amount, and they, that amount could be determined. And then some other host sites just pay the full amount. So the ADRC uses a formula to determine what the unfunded amount is, and that is the amount that some of the host sites then pay. So that can vary from year to year based on primarily the number of meals that are served, the number of meals that are ordered but then not, the resident doesn't take the meal, and then the amount of donations that the resident makes. So the last time we talked about this, we agreed to kind of put it off for 6 months and look at what if the donations increase, because as staff, we were trying to make more of an effort to see an increase in donations. So then we looked at it again in 2015, and I don't have those numbers in front of me, but the donations, if I recall correctly, had actually dropped a little bit. And if we look at the information that was in your packet, they've continued to, they fluctuated a little bit, but the donations are still pretty low at Mason Manor. The average donation at Mason Manor for the first quarter of 2018 was only 79 cents. The average donation throughout the program is $1.64, and what they're asking is $4 for donation.
For how many meals?
For one meal.
For one meal, each person, it's $4 a meal, suggested.
Suggested
Yeah.
donation.
Okay.
So the donations, as you can see, are low. They continue to remain low despite staff's efforts to, make consumers of the meal aware of, that it is based on donations and they should, make an effort to contribute. But the number of meals has gone up. So that's positive.
At
because-
us,
Yes,
at
our
Mason
site.
Manor,
Yes.
really.
Yes. So that's good. We've, it's really good to see that the residents are interested in this. They want to see it continue. It's an important amenity to them. But the donations, are lower. So that's going to mean that there's going to be more cost to us as a housing authority if we decide to contribute. One thing that we talked about as staff is over the years we have contributed more to the meal program in staffing resources. So previously the ADRC provided a staff person who took care of all the meal site, preparation and the serving and everything. And that has changed. We now have a resident who works through the WISE program,
Oh,
and
okay.
You know, they do the bulk of the work and they get paid for that time. But we still have to contribute. Karen, our administrative assistant, estimated she puts about 20% of her time towards the meal
Oh,
program.
wow.
And then Ka also helps out with several things, and we estimated about an hour to 2 hours per week is what she contributes.
Okay.
So previously, we didn't really invest much of any staffing resources, and we do that now.
What changed? Oh, that they're not providing the staff
The ADRC is
person.
not providing a staff person anymore, which was unusual, that they provided one for
Oh.
for Mesa Manor.
Okay.
I don't know the entire history, but apparently they hadn't been doing that for other sites for quite a while. But they still did it for Mesa Manor until that person decided to retire. And then that's when we started using the WISE program and contributing some of our own staff time.
Okay.
So as staff, we feel like we are already making a
Contributing.
contribution. And we are, you know, we're.
That's 20% of our
nonprofit
staff, a
agency.
full-time staff, that's a lot.
That
Yeah.
is. Is the meal a nicety, or are we required to provide a meal?
It's
No,
a
we're
nice
not
city.
We're not
Required,
required,
yeah.
okay.
But it is an amenity and it's,
So why can't there be a charge to the residents?
because of the federal guidelines
It has to ask
for
for a
this
donation.
program,
Got it.
Yeah.
it has
Okay.
to be, and the ADRC explained to me, the residents cannot be coerced or forced to make a donation. It has
Right.
to be
A
just a
willing
So
donation.
clogging up and banging on the doors saying, I need your $2 for,
No.
No, usually when we talk to them about the donation, I know that when they participate, we keep track on it like a master roster for the month, and then once that month ends, the ADRC actually mails the participants of the resident, a statement that shows how much it would have cost for the days that they participated for each meal. And then that kind of scares some of our residents, because then they feel like it's a statement that they owe, and then they stop participating.
Yep.
okay.
But the donations are anonymous, so
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ADRC doesn't even know which participant contributed how much. It's aggregate, they can see what the average is.
My thought, I guess, would be because we're putting that much staff time into it, I think we're doing our contribution already. If it gets to the point that the ADRC is having problems with funds for the program, then maybe we want to take another look at this. But as of right now, I feel, please give me your opinions too, I feel that we're contributing as a housing authority already just by staff time, a lot. So probably more than that 5,800, so.
What do you feel about the meal program?
I really don't know, because I don't participate in any of the meals.
Why don't you?
Well, because I don't like a lot of the food. I'm fussy.
Yeah, that'd be me too.
But do you have other individuals, or residents that you know of that participate? And do they say they like it? What are their opinions?
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah, they really like the food. They go around every day that,
okay.
so.
So I always think it's nice to have so that we know a population is getting nutrition, one way or the other. But again, I'll stick with what my thoughts were, is that we are already putting in staff time, and unless the ADRC is if their budget's being affected, not able, maybe they have to cut back, maybe we can look at this again.
What does the staff want to do?
We discussed it at our staff meeting, and we feel like we're already contributing through the staffing resources.
All right.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
any other discussion? All righty. All right, we'll go to the Langen report for May.
So that's in your packet. I can verbalize it for you if you'd like this month. There were 13 applications reviewed, 12 for Mason Manor, 1 for Scattered Sites, and then there were 3 fraud investigations that were open.
And it says still open, so those were carried over?
Correct.
Okay. All right, do we need to, on any of these, for this report, can I get a motion to place on
They're all-
file?
They're all informational. so
They're all
no action.
informational, so I don't need to do that, great.
Correct.
All right. All right, next one, occupancy report for the month of June, take it away.
All right, so that's in your packet as well.
It's right here.
We are really
Oh,
averaging.
wow.
Yes,
On
less
the
than.
Oh
We're
my-
doing pretty fabulous.
Yeah, like one page, that's just like,
Half a
wow,
page.
half a page.
Yep, so right now, the vacancies that we have are just really from the tenants moving out in the last month that we are diligently getting in, turning, and leasing up as soon as possible. So we are definitely averaging less than 30 days unit turns.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
With your application info and your waiting list,
Yes.
do you separate waiting lists for waiting for an accessible apartment? Didn't you do that before?
They mark it on their application.
Okay,
Yep, if they have a
okay.
reasonable accommodation,
Yes.
and
Okay.
then
So how many do you have? Do you know?
we don't have
Just-
any on the accessible. Correct me if I'm wrong, but.
On the wait list for accessible apartments? Wow, probably
Mm-mm.
because people just,
And usually they're actually the first ones I offer to,
Oh,
because they're either
okay.
from a homeless shelter or from the hospital, or rehab centers,
sure,
and then they get first dibs, so.
okay.
Mhm.
And if there isn't one available, then they'll go to, okay, great.
And so they usually get to decide if they want like the larger
Oh,
unit, if I don't
gotcha.
have the 88 one
Sure,
open. Mhm.
sure, okay, good. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, all of our accessible units, we've had very long-term tenants in there.
Correct, yes. And
They
that's
don't
what,
go
that's what I was
vacant very
saying. They just
often.
never leave because it's great. And it's accessible to them. So, all right, well, thank you. No placing on file for that. So then we'll go to the next one, update on bed bug situation.
All right. So right now, we are currently treating 2 units. One has completed treatment, the 3-step treatment. So we're just in the 30-day waiting period for John and Chester to come. Our next quarterly inspection, we moved up a few weeks, just so hopefully I can be here next week. So usually it would be usually scheduled for July, but we bumped it up to next week. So
Okay,
for our next meeting, we will have the results for the full building K-9 inspection.
great.
But we are doing
Fabulous.
Yeah.
unbelievable with the back.
Well, and you still have final warnings for tenants and eviction process to 3.
And those numbers have not changed.
That's
In
what I,
months.
but yes, so that's what I was wondering. So is it the same 3? Is that what you're?
So, yes, this is just total since we started.
Oh, okay, got
total.
you. Okay, all right.
Yep, so it's not
So it's not just
4
this
in the
past,
last month,
yes,
right.
that's what I was
It's-
wondering. Okay. Wonderful, thank you, Jamie.
Good job.
Good job, you guys. All right, date of next meeting.
July 9th?
July 19th.
Oh, we skipped number 5.
Uh-oh, did I miss something?
I was like, I don't have to do
Oh.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, I did, housing update, sorry, Bob.
That's okay. So staff's been working with IT, and we got all 4 of our directories working in Mason Manor now. So when you
Ooh.
walk in, first floor and second floor entry, there's a directory on the outside for how to buzz people to be let into the building by visitors. And then when you get into the first lobby, that's where it shows everyone's name, but just last name and first initial, and then their actual apartment numbers.
Okay,
So we
gotcha.
got those back up and running.
Yay.
And then, so we never hear from Scattered Sites, so I was excited to share this. Scattered Sites, we have a tenant who was, she was super cute and thankful, and she made staff all beaded guardian angels.
Oh.
It was so cute. Her name is Iris, and yeah, it was really cute. We don't really get stuff like that from Scattered Sites. Not that they don't like us, but they're busy.
Yes.
And then on the Mesa Manor side, Nat, 8th floor, threw Jamie a surprise baby shower.
Oh, how
that's
nice.
And that was part of it.
Yes, oh, how
That's
sweet.
very cool.
Yes, very,
Got a neat little village, it sounds like.
yes.
And then don't forget, mark your calendars for the ice cream social at Mesa Manor next Friday at 2 p.m. in the community room. If you guys want to come join
Okay,
us.
well, that's good to know, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, anything else on housing update? Nope. I apologize for missing that.
Invited, sent an email for the ice cream social?
I think so.
Okay.
Yep, because then Karen created, did we give those out? Yeah, we sent those out already, right?
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Dated next meeting is July 19th, and with that said, I will call for a motion for adjournment. Does that-
Motion to adjourn?
And I will second it.
All right, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 11:59, like it. Cool. Thanks, guys. Now what do we do?
When are you due?
July
You have to
15th.
leave the meeting.
No, what do we do with these little things?
Yes.
Why do we get out of here now?
Is there a leave the
So if you
meeting?
go late,
Which I
we'll
will
have
not.
to, we'll have to,
Oh.
we'll have